안녕하세요.
Good
2022
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third day of the 2022 World Forum for Intangible Cultural Heritage. The theme today is traditional knowledge, thoughts and practices concerning nature and humanity. I am Mok So-yoon, announcer of Jeonju MBC. For the past 2 days, we have talked about the transmission and preservation of ICH, especially traditional knowledge. We also discussed traditional knowledge and sustainable water management. And today we are going to dive into the theme of understanding and developing traditional medicine as traditional knowledge. And the forum is being broadcasted live on the official website of the forum, as well as Jeonju MBC and ICHCAP's YouTube channel. And we also have a metaverse forum ongoing as well. So we ask for your interest. Before we begin the third session, we have a special lecture. The special lecture will be delivered by Dr. Judith Farquhar, Professor Emeritus at the University of Chicago. The floor is yours.
Shall I start?
Go ahead, please.
Hello, Judith.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, you can start your
I
presentation.
can start. All right, good.
Okay,
Thank you
thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here at all these different times. I want to take the title of this talk as a question. Wait a minute. I want to take the title of this talk as a question. Traditional medicine is a huge and diverse field of popular practice found throughout the world. Is traditional medicine recognizable as intangible cultural heritage? Problems arise as soon as we entertain this question. Should medicine of any kind make a claim to be cultural or local or ethnic knowledge? After all, most medical work is very tangible, and medical practitioners usually resist being seen as culture workers. The part of this question I want to dwell on most is the practice of heritage. After thinking a while about culture and knowledge, in the second part of this talk, I will provide some photographic field notes. I hope these images will help everyone appreciate the healing heritages, in the plural, that are alive in China's mountain south. But first, let's talk about whether medicine is culture. About 8 years ago, my collaborator, Lai Lili, and I were passing through Kunming, Yunnan province, in China, on our way to continue our anthropological fieldwork among the ethnic groups living in the mountains to the west. Since we were studying local developments in Chinese minority nationality medicine movement, we took advantage of being in the city to visit a bookstore that specialized in the folklore, religion, arts, and material culture of China's minority nationalities. There, we were happy to find several bookcases devoted to the minority traditional medicines of China. More surprising, though, were these shelves of biomedical textbooks labeled as foreign nationality medicine, 外国民族医学. With this label, some bookstore worker had pulled off a pretty good joke. Modern biomedicine is seldom thought of as foreign or minority. Rather, biomedicine is a global triumph that belongs to everyone. Though Chinese medical experts usually refer to modern biomedicine as Western medicine. This is mainly when they are making comparisons to traditional Chinese medicine. Everyone knows that global bioscience dominates the healthcare field in China and in the world. From a modern social development viewpoint, that is, of course, how it ought to be. Perhaps this joke, which sees biomedicine as belonging to foreign nationalities, is only possible within an ethnic self-consciousness that arises when a local cultural heritage is encouraged to develop by the state. Such development programs for ethnic cultures are certainly important in China these days, but we can ask, what is the contrastive other of foreign nationality medicine? Is it institutionalized traditional Chinese medicine, which we sometimes call TCM, or is it perhaps local minority or folk medicines? Is Achang medicine or Dai medicine a homegrown alternative to the widely institutionalized regime of modern scientific medicine, both Western and Chinese varieties? If nationality medicine in China is heritage, then why isn't biomedicine a precious cultural heritage as well, just one that belongs to foreigners? Is nationality medicine only effective in nationality identified bodies? Are Western medicine and Chinese medicine or minority nationality medicine parallel cultures of equal social value? Are they both sciences, perhaps? Or are nationality medicines something else altogether? At least traditional medicines might be forms of heritage, even if it's hard to say who exactly owns these legacies. In a moment, I will show some examples of heritage work on the ground, while emphasizing the complexity of the motives and strategies of those who work to transmit their special knowledge and make a future for traditional medicines. While I draw here on my anthropological research in China, I'm bearing in mind other medical traditions that have developed and fought for recognition and clinical presence in the public health systems of modern states. In the world of traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, intangible cultural heritage is a well-known concept. Acupuncture and moxibustion were listed by UNESCO as early as 2010, after all, and the TCM field as a whole tends to see itself as both traditional and vulnerable to critical assaults from modernizers, some of whom would abolish this ancient field. This stance puts Chinese medical practitioners in league with the martial artists, diviners, puppeteers, musicians, and other heritage artists who have been recognized as cultural, as globally valued, and as adding to the world's cultural diversity. But whose heritage is also seen as fragile and possibly disappearing. But few specialists would feel comfortable classifying Chinese medicine as an art or craft, like these other forms of heritage. And even fewer are interested in keeping a pure tradition of authentic pre-modern knowledge and practice alive. Most feel that they must modernize. Science, not culture, not art, is both the partner and antagonist of these traditional medicine experts. Again and again, policymakers and senior clinicians have told me, we have no alternative. We must scientize if our field is to survive. As a result, we have seen a modern turn, even in traditional medicine clinics, to the biomedical anatomy of lesions, tumors, and discrete organs, and a reliance on chemical laboratory results. These scientific things are deployed as a supplement to the experienced pattern discerning and therapy determining knowing practice of senior Chinese doctors. Moreover, the biosciences are now an integral part of traditional medical education in China. As older Chinese doctors pass away with their embodied skills and their very tangible culture of healing, these scientizing practices make the Chinese medicine of the future a very different system, than the field that was inherited by modernizing doctors a few generations ago. Why must traditional medicines become scientific? However fitting it might be for people in the humanities like me to designate TCM as an art or craft, as cultural, as rational knowledge, and as legitimate heritage. To do so automatically places a medical tradition in an antagonistic relation to official state-sponsored medical science. I would argue that this opposition, an art rather than a science, an indigenous science rather than culture, et cetera, this opposition will arise in every country that has a national health system. Ministries of health heavily favor biomedical services while underfunding and over-regulating struggling traditional medicine institutions. The modern history of the Ayush medicines in India, these are, of course, Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, and Himalayan medicine. The modern history of these Ayush medicines is different from that of TCM, and I would welcome comparative insights on this politics from those attending and speaking today. But these South Asian therapeutic modalities probably face a similar dilemma to what I find in China, where a state supports only a global bioscience that legislates what is true and knowable about bodies and disease. The label of culture is a liability, even a stigma. No wonder the leading doctors of Chinese medicine have little time for intangible cultural heritage listings. But these same experts do like to emphasize heritage, the process by which diagnostic and therapeutic skills are passed down from seniors to younger generations, from villages and forests to urban clinics, from the classical authorities to working healers. How does the inheritance of healing artistry work on the ground? Pressures to modernize notwithstanding. What knowledge and practices are preserved or created in the transmission of heritage to future generations? What practical traditions find their way into medical education, possibly promising continuity into the future? Rather than answer these questions in general or in the abstract, I want to show you some instances of heritage transmission in China's mountainous south. I really want these photographic field notes to do the rest of the talking this morning, this afternoon, tonight. I want to show you some, showing the kind of committed work being done by ordinary people as they transmit the legacies of local knowledge. Wait a second, my screen is not turning. I'm sorry, my PowerPoint is not advancing. My PowerPoint is not advancing. There, okay, I'm sorry. All right, this poster is a propaganda poster from the 1950s. It shows a rural herbalist instructing PLA soldiers, People's Liberation Army soldiers, at a base camp of the 4th Route Army. This is a reference to the 1940s, when local herbal medicine was seen as a service to the Red Army, suffering from a shortage of all medical supplies. Notice the formal teaching materials that this old herbalist has put together and the avid, enthusiastic note-taking by these young soldiers. But also notice that there's a hands-on demonstration here. Herbal medicine has long been taught this way, with samples. This is another poster with gathering girls, gathering medicine in the mountains. Herbal medicine in the 1950s to the 1970s included not just old herbalists, but mobilized youth. This was a kind of citizen science, but in the medical field, it was not brand new. This image makes a clear reference to a long-standing practice among all kinds of people in China's mountains to go up into the mountains to gather medicinal herbs. In this slide, we see a young barefoot doctor interviewing the village herbalist. She is both gathering plants and writing notes about them. This young barefoot doctor works on transforming traditional expertise or craft into legible knowledge through her careful note-taking. This is another poster of depicting a common scene in a village health station where we see multi-generational collaborations between the village doctor, an herbalist with local knowledge, and a female barefoot doctor. She is stereotypically depicted here in the position of disciple. Jumping away from propaganda posters and looking into contemporary images, I have to explain that in the midst of a national movement to salvage, sort, summarize, and elevate the heritage medicines of Chinese ethnic groups or minority nationalities, my anthropological collaborator, Lai Lili, and I encountered many interesting efforts to guarantee a future for all kinds of local knowledge or local expertise. In Guangxi, for example, we followed the work of this well-educated, certified, not especially old clinician practicing Zhuang nationality medicine in a large urban hospital and Zhuang Medical School. He originally learned Zhuang medicine or local medicine from his father and grandmother, who had a thriving village practice that is still active. Here he is treating Lili's headache with one of his typically tactile methods, something for which his father is also famous. This is him doing field work. This relatively young doctor often pursued field research with Zhuang healers in the countryside, believing that there was much about local medical knowledge that he had yet to learn. Here he studies herbs in a family garden with an elderly villager after receiving a specialized gua sha treatment on his own back. He has been publishing on various treatments for the locally recognized affliction of Sha disease, which is like sunstroke. All this field work is part of his personal heritage project. His published work on this topic looks quite scientific, but working from that scientific work to clinical practice is rather complicated. In-person discipleship is still required, he believes. In a Lisu and Tibetan county in Yunnan, we met this doctor who had been taught by a famous Tibetan Lama who was resident in the area when he was a child. He is teaching his grandson some of what he knows, and his grandson, as you can see here, is quite interested in this material. This is a demonstration collection of local herbals that this doctor put together to train his grandson in recognizing, naming, and using herbals. This man is a Zhuang healer practicing in a small town famous for its annual herbal medicine market. The woman putting on her white clinic coat beside him is his daughter, who helps him in his practice. He is a 9th generation Taoist healer, an herbalist, who has since the early 1990s taught annual short courses in Zhuang medicine and therapeutics, writing his own textbook pamphlets. I wanted to show you the cabinet containing his textbooks, awards, and certificates, which is in his sitting room. Besides his adult daughter, who helps in his medical practice, and a 12-year-old son, who so far has not demonstrated an aptitude for medicine, He tends to think of his students rather than his family as the heirs to his esoteric knowledge. He is also protective of the secrets of his trade. There was much that he didn't want to tell us, especially about the ritual side of his methods. But we suspect that he did teach this kind of Taoist esoterica to his 50-plus training course graduates. One of the most interesting healers we met in our research had not been taught by anyone living, though his father and grandfather had been healers in the same village. Rather, this man said he had thought up most of his methods on his own while gathering medicines in the forests. This Lisu doctor, a farmer and former township clerk, had taken up medicine immediately after his father died. He said he learned directly from the forest about the uses of local herbals. Here you can see his unique naming and sorting system for the medicinals that he gathered. It's made of pink silk and it has pockets for different kinds of prepared herbs. And he told us that his father and grandfather sometimes visited him in dreams to help him with knotty clinical problems. Of course, we met some people you might call medical heritage charlatans or phonies. This herbalist was deeply involved in local medical tourism, and he touted a rare local drug as a powerful cure-all. We were skeptical, but he didn't keep secrets from us. He was happy to show us his backyard herb garden, but he was also quite sure that we could never discover the secrets of his cure-all drug. I could show you where it grows, he said, but you wouldn't know how to find that place again, or when to harvest, or how to prepare the drug, or how to use it clinically. All this understanding could only come through the long, hands-on training of disciples. He was a self-promoter. Another interesting self-promoter was his Tujan nationality model village doctor. He had received some national awards for his work as a village doctor. Here he is seeing a heart patient in his living room. Though he is only a village doctor, he keeps a very elaborate pharmacy in his house, and he clearly knows how to use it. This healer had gone some way toward turning embodied skill into written knowledge, as can be seen from his handmade charts of cosmic and bodily correlations. He frequently attended national meetings on traditional medicine, and he claimed to disciples all around China. And yet he was considered to be a Tuja practitioner. This is Dr. Kai, a village doctor living and practicing high up above the Salween River in far western Yunnan province. As we talked with Dr. Kai, admiring his old course notes from a government training school, his granddaughter stuck close by. She was fascinated by her grandfather's work, as we were. Here is the registration badge from a conference Dr. Kai attended on local materia medica. We were continuously amazed and interested to learn how he and other village health workers in this area were trained in the 1960s in government short courses that included traditional medicine. And here we go to Sichuan province, where Dr. Zhu on the right practices Qiang nationality medicine with his son in a master studio clinic set up after Sichuan's catastrophic 2008 earthquake. Dr. Zhu cannot be certified as a doctor of traditional medicine because he is listed as illiterate, but he is extremely popular with patients. Here we went with him to gather medicines in the Sichuan high forests, where he and his family search for and cultivate herbal medicines. He formulates a great many herbal compounds, all of his own design, and using the materia medica that he himself has gathered. We asked him if he tried to keep pharmacy records, and he said, "There's no need for a written prescription. It's like cooking. You can feel it in your hands. And here Dr. Ju's son studies his father's prescription without benefit of pencil and paper. In conclusion, I hope that these photographic field notes are giving heritage scholars some resonant images about how traditional healers in communities all over Asia are passing on their knowledge of traditions, skills, and customs. Reading between the lines of these stories, I hope we can also see how difficult it is to ensure a future for local knowledge, or for culture, or for the healing heritage of minorities. The future may be bleak for local healing knowledge. Few of the children and grandchildren of these seniors are interested in the fine points of plants, bodies, and the intangibles of gods and ancestors. Moreover, as most of the healers we followed argued to us, traditions, skills, and customs cannot be conveyed in the abstract as systems of knowledge. In all these slides, we have seen teachers and a few younger students with their hands and eyes on concrete things, herbals and bodies especially. As many mountain healers argue to Lili Lai and me, the truest medical experts simply cannot convey their knowledge with a textbook or in a classroom. They require committed disciples who can spend the time and accumulate the experience, gathering powerful herbs in the mountains, preparing them over days and weeks in courtyards, administering them to patients in carefully designed compounds, observing the results of treatment, and creatively modifying prescriptions. This is very tangible work. The passage of this kind of living heritage into the future requires commitment, passion, and a healing touch. Even when it is effective medicine, the modernizing imperative to make knowledge scientific leaves medical traditions vulnerable in an increasingly uniform world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farquhar, for your presentation. Thank you for your special lecture. We are dealing with many different topics in this forum. In 2017, we held the first forum with ICH and cities. In the second forum, we talked about peace and ICH. And in the third year, we talked about civic society and ICH. And in the fourth year, we talked about humans and nature and ICH. And last year, we talked about the creative society and ICH. And we believe that the K-contents popular today also includes ICH of Korea. And in order for us to further develop this, we are continuing to hold the World Forum for Intangible Cultural Heritage. Once again, the theme for this year is traditional knowledge, thoughts, and practices concerning nature and humanity. Now, we would like to remind our audience once again that you can watch the forum on the YouTube channel of ICHCAP and Chunju MBC, and also at the website of this forum. And now I would like to move on to the last session, session 3, on this final day of the forum. The moderator for this session is Professor Kim Tae-woo, Associate Professor at Kyunghee University.
예, 안녕하십니까?
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third session of the 2022 World Forum for Intangible Cultural Heritage. I'm the moderator for this session. I'm Kim Tae-woo from Kyunghee University. I would like to first welcome the presenters of this session and also the participants who are joining us, both on and offline, in the venue and also through YouTube.
3세션의 주제는
The
전통
theme
지식의
of the third session is
전통
understanding
지식의
and developing
이해와
traditional
발전
medicine
방안입니다.
as traditional
이유는
knowledge.
자연으로부터
Humanity
많은
has
다양한 재료를 활용하여
acquired a
건강
lot
관련
of
치유 행위를
ingredients and
그동안
materials from
발전시키고
nature
전송해
and
왔습니다.
has built many health-related knowledge
각각의
and
지역에서
treatments
각각의
and healing
문화마다 다양한 어떤
from
기후,
this, and we have
토양,
transmitted
지리의
this.
어떤 그런 특징 속에서
And within the
다르게
different
존재하는 어떤
local
그런
characteristics and
유산들을
geographic features, we
그리고
have many
자연의 어떤
diverse
그런
heritage
계제들을
related to
인류는 그 지역적
traditional
특징을
medicine.
바탕으로
So based on
다양한
the local
전통 의료
characteristics,
재료와
humanity
치유
has
방법을
built
보유하고 발전시켜
a lot
왔습니다.
of traditional
이
material
전통 의료
and
지식과
treatment
관습은
methods.
공동체의 사회 문화의 뿌리를 내리고
And
인류의
this
높은
takes
삶의
root
질과 양질의
in
의료에 기여해
the
왔습니다.
community, and traditional
이번
medicine knowledge
전체
and
3일
customs
동안에
have taken
세계
root in the
무형
social cultural
문화유산
fabric,
포럼의 전체
contributing to
주제가
quality of life.
전통
The
지식,
overall
자연과
theme of
인간에
this
관한
forum
사유와
is
실천입니다.
traditional knowledge,
여러
thoughts, and
가지
practices
어떤
concerning
전통
nature
지식이
and
있겠지만은 특히
humanity. There are
이
many different
전통
types
의료에
of
관한
traditional
지식은
knowledge,
특히
but
인간과
there is in
자연의
particular
어떤
an
그런 연계성
abundance of
속에서
traditional
드러나는 어떤
medicine
그런 지식이
knowledge.
되겠습니다.
And I think that it becomes more
우리가
apparent in the
한의학 같은
relationship
경우에도
between nature
인삼이라는 자연에
and
있는 그런
humanity. If you
재료를
look at
통해서
Korean Oriental
치유를 하지요.
medicine, we
그리고
use,
서양
for instance,
의학에서도
herbs
어떤
in
이
nature to
새로운
treat
어떤
humans. And
약물들을
also
만들어서
in
치유를
Western
한다든지
medicine as
아니
well,
여러분들이 잘
you
아시는
can
노니
see
같은
that we
그런
develop
뭐 하와이에서
medicine
사용한다는 어떤 그런
to cure humans. And
약재들도
there
그
are herbs
자연에서
that
가져와서
are
인간과의
native, for
관계 속에서
instance, in
새로운
Hawaii.
어떤 그런
And people
의료가
collect these
만들어지고
herbs that
진행되고
come
발전되고
from
있습니다.
nature to
그런 어떤
treat
측면에서 이
humans.
전통
And
의료라는
from
것이
this
특히
perspective, I
이
believe that
이번
traditional
포럼의
medicine in
주제인
particular
전통 지식,
is very
자연과
much in
인간에 관한
line
사유와
with
실천에
the theme of
아주
this
잘
forum,
맞는
traditional
어떤
knowledge,
그런
thoughts, and practices concerning
주제이고
nature
중요한
and
주제라고 할
humanity.
수가
And I
있겠습니다.
believe that
오늘
traditional medicine is
포럼에서는
especially important.
인류의 건강 증진과
In this
회복에
session, we
지대한
will
영향을
look at
미쳐온
traditional medicine,
전통
which
의료
has a
지식에
huge
대한
impact
다양한
on
사례를
promoting
논의하고
health
이 전통 의료의
in
발전 양상과 앞으로의
humanity. And we will
도전
also
과제에
take a look at
살펴보는
the way
시간을
forward and also some
갖고자
challenges, and
합니다.
also take a look at some various
지금
case examples
유튜브와
related
메타버스로
to
많은
traditional
분들이 참여하고 계신데요.
medicine
유튜브로
knowledge.
시청하고 계시는
We
분들은
have viewers
유튜브
of YouTube, and we have those
채팅창에
of you
질문을
joining us
남겨
via
주시기
Metaverse. For
바랍니다.
our YouTube viewers, if
보내주신
you have any
질문과 의견을
questions,
가지고
please make use of the chat
발표, 오늘 네
box
분의
to
발표가
post your
있는데요.
questions.
발표
We have four
이후에
presenters.
토론
So
시간에
after we hear the
발제자분들과 함께
presentation, so we have a
질의응답
discussion session,
시간을
and we will
가지도록
try to entertain the
하겠습니다.
questions we receive through
그러면
YouTube during the
본격적으로
Q&A session
오늘 세션의
during the discussion
발표를
session. And
진행하도록
now, without
하겠습니다.
further ado, we would like to begin the
먼저
first
첫 번째
presentation.
발표는 괌의
The first presentation is
함태로고는
titled
신사적
Restoring
사유에
Faith
대한
in
믿음의
Native Healing,
회복이라는
Yo
주제로
Auntie.
치타 판겔리난
And the presentation will be delivered by President
재단
Zita
회장님께서
Pangilinan
발표해
of Haya
주시겠습니다.
Foundation.
치타 팔겔리난 회장님은 2004년
President Zita
괌의 전통치료
Pangilinan is the
활성화를 위해
co-founder of
설립된
Haya Culture
하야
Heritage and
문화유산
Development
발전
Foundation,
재단의
established in 2004,
창립자이십니다.
with a focus on the
현재
revitalization
괌
of traditional healing.
공진보건부와 함께
She
일하고
currently
있으며
works with Guam's
코로나19
Department of Public
대응팀에도
Health and has
활동하고
been
계십니다.
serving on the COVID-19
지난
response
18년
team.
동안
For the past 18
서태평양의
years, President
마리아나
Zita
제도
has
전역에서
listened, observed,
지역의
and
전통
continued to
치유사들의
seek the
치료법을
guidance of the
관찰하고
indigenous healers
관련 지식을
throughout the
연구하고
Marana
있으며
Islands.
이들의
And
피드백을
based on their
바탕으로
feedback,
다양한
she has
활동을
implemented
전개하고
various
계십니다.
activities.
또한 전통치료
She
증진과
also
발전을
sponsored
위한
several
국제회의 개최에 여러
international
차례
conferences
후원을
for the
하기도
promotion and the
하셨으며
development of traditional therapies,
행복을 위한
and also
치유약이란
co-produced a
뜻의
documentary titled
파라이
Amot Parai Hinem
히넴로타라는
Lota, which
다큐멘터리를
means medicine for
공동으로
our well-being.
제작하기도 하셨습니다. 그럼
Please
이 치타 판겔리난 회장님의
welcome
발표를 들어보도록
President
하겠습니다.
Zita
발표자를
Pangilinan
큰
with a big
박수로 맞이해
round of
주시기
applause.
바랍니다.
Thank you so much for that introduction and Hafaday and greetings from the Mariana Islands. My name is Zita Pangolin and I am a descendant of the Kotla Ingalidi clan. I give great thanks to our ultimate healer and all traditional healers who came before us and those of you who are with us, and to Yang Jiang, Secretariat of the conference, and all the conference organizers, staff, and participants to make this a reality. We pray for blessings upon the generations so that the generations will follow will benefit from all we strive to achieve today. I am a Intangible. It's a Chamorro word for messenger. Also president and co-founder of Hadza Foundation. And as was said, it was established over 18 years ago. And our mission is to enhance the well-being of our people with the primary goal of promoting, preserving, and perpetuating our indigenous healing tradition. We are not-for-profit volunteer organization, so no one receives a salary. We believe traditional healing improves the quality of life and health of our people, and we have been blessed and privileged to witness this for ourselves. As an observer and servant of traditional healers, I'd like to share how we work to facilitate the creation of social and cultural environment that would allow for the revitalization of our traditional healing, which sustained our people for over 5,000 years. The cultural preservation and revitalization efforts in the beginning laid the necessary foundation for social reacceptance of traditional healing practices. We are forever grateful to Iman A'amti, traditional healers of the Mariana Islands, who have guided us in our work, and many have since passed on, but their spirit remains. Chamorro traditional healing is holistic. Sorry. So it's been around for over 3,500 years. And these are our healers and mentors. Traditional healing is holistic, taking into account one's body, mind, and spirit with the hope of achieving balance or harmony after one becomes ill or diseased, disconnected. Sometimes the cause may be physical, emotional, or deemed supernatural. Iman Zo'amti believe they serve as an instrument of the ultimate healer and attribute all their gifts and healing abilities to her. They also call on our Mañanas, ancestors, who guide and lend their energies in the process. Our healer's knowledge is sacred and passed on from generation to generation. Some may have abilities to heal simple ailments and is considered A'amti, one who heals, while others have a more extensive knowledge and abilities and is considered a Zo'amti, or a master traditional healer. Healers often start with a prayer asking God for help to care and heal the patient, Satgai Ma'atsi, with humility and mercy. In addition to prayers, healing remedies may include medicinal plants prepared for consumption or topical application, and or oil to be applied with healing hands and massage, or ointments applied, and or at times spiritual intervention for more serious illnesses, which may include chanting and a special ceremony. Many patients are of different age, race, background, education, and economic standing. Many seek our healers when Western medicine has failed, or they prefer the alternatives to Western medicine. Many young families, parents bring their children for treatment, preferring a more natural treatment to pharmaceuticals. In the spirit of inafamalik, caring for one another's well-being, the patients typically show their gratitude to healers by offering gifts of cash, food, or items they know a healer may need. The healers likewise offer gifts of thanksgiving to God, Imanyaina, the environment, bringing harmony and balance in the process, and improving our quality of life. Healers are compassionate and are not offended by those with no means means of gifting or reciprocating. Healers are also maybe insulted when asked what their fee for service is. However, the reality is that there are those who take our healers for granted, and we strive to correct that issue. Hundreds of years of foreign colonization of our people forced our traditional healers to practice in secrecy because they were deemed a threat to colonial administration. Here, one of our healers talk about the fact that we have been detached, we have been uprooted, magutusid gihaleta, so disconnected from who we are as a people because of colonial administration. In 2004, we came to the realization that many healers, many of our Guam healers passed away or were no longer able to practice and not accessible. So we reached out to Imanzo Amti in the neighboring Mariana Islands of Rota, Saipan, and Tinian for help. We had to invest the time to prove our intentions and purpose and earn their trust. After a decade of laying the necessary groundwork, we first hosted our first AMET, or Traditional Medicine Conference, in 2012, a 3-day conference with traditional healers of the Marianas, government health officials, educators, cultural practitioners, legislators, and the community. The objective was to develop a strategic plan by the community for the community to address our current health issues, and if and how our traditional healing practices can provide effective, affordable, accessible health services for our people. Zoamti and mentor Emilio Azuzu, or Uncle Mel, has passed and served as our educated, guided, and mentored us. He introduced us to other healers and taught about the different types of healing, medicinal plants, and their natural habitats. And to recognize the value of the gifts from our land as food, as medicine. With Uncle Mill, we coordinated and hosted workshops for a wider audience, presented at conferences and work sites, participated at cultural fairs, and collaborated with the University of Guam's extension program to host community garden workshops and a summer camp. 2 years later, we hosted the second conference to provide our progress and status on the plan, and focused this time on providing professional development for teachers in order to incorporate traditional healing, medicinal plants, gardening, and environmental stewardship into our school curriculum. We also published 3 Amit series books and documentaries. Our strategic plan also called for the establishment of a healing center. We relied on the guidance of Imanzo Amti, Rosalia Mamachai Mateo, and Francis Meno. In May of 2016, Hadza Foundation opened and established the first traditional healing center, Gumanzo Amti. And concurrently, we hosted healers, traditional healers from 13 countries for the 12th Festival of the Pacific Arts held on Guam. The gathering of healers across the Pacific resounded the need to establish a network of healers, hopefully the Pacific Indigenous Healers Consortium. Within 6 months of operation, Gumazo Amti served over 1,300 clients, and the demand almost doubled the following year and subsequent years. Today, we serve approximately 7,500 patients annually. We also developed curriculum for a course we offered at the University of Guam. We sponsored student interns, and one of which, Serena Barassi here, was awarded for her research project investigating the future state of Chamorro healing practices and perpetuating Indigenous knowledge. She represented Guam in Washington, D.C. At our third AMIT conference in 2018, we reported again our progress and was given a directive by the community to now move and concentrate our efforts in engaging and educating our youth to our Indigenous ways of being for sustainability. We collaborated with the Mayor Ephraim Italic and traditional practitioners in the neighboring island of Rota. We established a council of elders, Kauhau Hadza, and developed and implemented Pinexai Hadza, a cultural youth immersion program steeped in our Indigenous practices as a way of reconnecting to our way of being. We had 30 participants from Guam, Rota, and Tinian. Lessons on language, traditional healing, farming, fishing, and traditional hut making were taught. The program was deemed a success by our elders and continued the following year on Guam. During our third AMIT conference, village mayors of Agid and Jonya heard our plea for much needed facilities to expand and establish more healing centers. We opened the Agid Gumanzoamti in March 2019 to serve the southern villages, and again, shortly thereafter, we opened another center in Jonya to serve the central residents of Guam. We were also joined by traditional healers from the island of Pohnpei, Barimanakai, and great guest healer Nelber Lemer from Pohnpei. We also opened a resource center for health and well-being, Guma Parahinambu. The risk and threat of loss of this tradition persist today with Western influence, the passing of each healer along with their sacred knowledge. In addition, the Chamorro people continue to be denied our right to self-determination. The U.S. military has mobilized and is expanding its footprints in Guam despite widespread opposition in Guam by our healers and local community. More specifically, a live fire training range complex is now being built adjacent to Ritidian, where 3,000-year-old villages and traditional medicine gathering area is located, and in close proximity to the island's primary source of drinking water. In addition to the loss of land and access to critical habitat, the cultural heritage and natural landscapes continue to erode. In the past, this sacred knowledge was passed on to family members, starting as apprentices at a young age in shadowing their elders to gather medicinal plants. We needed to develop ways of perpetuation and facilitated an informal apprenticeship program in 2016, with apprentices just simply shadowing our healers. In 2019, we, with the help of Zoamti Lourdes Mengonya, John Tautau, Susan Uggan, and Betty Malachi, we coordinated and attempted a more formal apprenticeship 6-week program. We interviewed 20 applicants and selected 12. Participants struggle to balance their work and family life with the program. Today, people continue to visit our centers, expressing interest in working with our healers. At this time, We're observing and allowing things to just evolve organically. Many are unaware of the extent of personal sacrifice, commitment, hard work, and requirements required of Imanzo Amtisiha. The countless hours they invest are unseen or unheard. We wanted to highlight the value and role of our traditional healers, the Imanzo Amti, in our community by nominating them for awards. Rosalia Mamachai Mateo was awarded the 2019 Public Citizen Award by National Association of Social Workers and commended by the 35th Guam Legislature for 63 years of service as a traditional healer. In addition, we petitioned and nominated the two of our traditional masters, Mama Chai and Donald Mendiola, for an honorary master's degree with the University of Guam, and were awarded such most recently at commencement exercise in May of 2022. We've collaborated with Indigenous healers in the region and internationally, and also engaged the University of California, Los Angeles, Asia Pacific Studies, and the University of Pittsburgh Sustainable Engineering Study Abroad programs on Guam for our research projects. We also endured challenges amongst ourselves from interpersonal conflicts, the challenges due to lack of resources and supplies. We were also victims of burglary and vandalism with the destruction of one of our centers and, of course, a global pandemic. The pain of it all was deep and almost unbearable. Through it all, we strive to hold each other accountable and work on cleansing and healing spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, and rebuilt. In the process, we are humbled by our faults and weaknesses, while we are nurtured and strengthened. There are times of indescribable spiritual uplifting and energy, force stirring and prodding us forward with love, support, and resources that came from the community like magic. All this and more have been our journey in restoring faith in our native healing. Sizuos Masi, thank you.
네, 발표 감사합니다. 예, 괌의
Thank you very much for your
전통문화에 대해서
presentation. It was a great opportunity for us to learn about the Guam's traditional healing practices. And also you just shared the difficulties that you had and the future challenges and tasks. Thank you very much for your input and information. Now let me invite our second speaker.
Our second presenter will be delivering a presentation on the traditional healing practice in Thailand, specifically Nuat Thai as intangible cultural heritage. The presenter is Prapoj Patrakad, advisor of Folk Healer Network Society. The floor is yours. The Dr. Prapoj Pakdar is an advisor of the Folk Healer Network Society and chairman of Federation of Traditional Thai Medicine of Thailand and chairman of Foundation for Children with Disability. Though a medical doctor by training and an orthopedic surgeon by profession, he has long been engaged in the advancement of knowledge and practice of Nuat Thai and Thai traditional knowledge, having played an important role in developing professional training course on Nuat Thai for people with disability and visual impairment in Thailand since 2009. He initiated e-learning courses Nuat Thai for visually impaired persons in 2020 to overcome the challenges of COVID-19. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite the doctor for his presentation. Please welcome him with a big applause.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to share some experience on traditional healing practice in Thailand, Nuat Thai as an intangible cultural heritage. And this These are the 8 topics. Move like these are the 8 topics that I will share with you on this presentation. Physical touch is an innate, relaxing, and comforting act for human beings since birth. Mothers naturally embrace, rub, and pat to soothe and calm their crying newborns. Massage harnesses the healing power of human touch as people learn to apply needling, rubbing, or pressure on various areas of the body to relieve muscle pain and stimulate for themselves or others. Archaeological evidence of massage therapy has been found in many ancient civilizations from China, India, Egypt, Crete to Mesopotamia. The earliest written records were discovered in the tomb of Akhenaten, the tomb of the physician in Egypt, dated to around 2400 before Christ era. Nuot Thai, one of the oldest therapeutic massage traditions in Southeast Asia, arose from ancient culture and peoples of a region often known as Suvarnabhumi, and has evolved into a system of healing knowledge and practice. So this the area of Suvarnabhumi, the meaning is a land of gold. Suvarnabhumi is believed to span from what is southern China today in the north, mainland Southeast Asia, Borneo, the Philippines to Indonesia, archipelago in the south. About 5,000 to 7,000 years ago, people in Southeast Asia began cultivating rice as a staple food. And 3,000 years ago, as the ability of the people in this area to smelt iron, the most important material for making tools, became widespread in the region. At that time, animism was the prevailing system of beliefs or religions of Suvarnabhumi people. The spread of Buddhism in Suvarnabhumi, around 200 to 300 Buddhist era. There were 2 Buddhist monks traveled from India and arrived for the first mission in Suvarnabhumi to spread Buddhism in Suvarnabhumi. Brahmins, meanwhile, came to propagate Hindu religious belief in most communities. Buddhism, Brahminism, and existing animist beliefs intermingle with each other. You can see, I will talk about the influence or the important role of Buddhism and traditional medical system in Southeast Asia. And this is the most important of the Buddhist discipline. Whoever will give medical care to me, such a person should do the same to the sick monk. Consequently, Buddhist influenced medical knowledge and practice began to play an important role in people's health care. Over time, they blend with indigenous healing traditions, with emphasizing supernatural force, and emerged as traditional medical system of various people and countries in Southeast Asia. So Buddhist influenced medical traditions are characteristically based on empirical, rational approach to medicine and a belief that healing other illnesses engenders great merit. The earliest written record about Nuot Thai, I think the oldest evidence is the directory of feudal status in terms of farmland by King Tairokanath. You can trace back about 500 years ago. There were civil servants in the department of massage therapy. And the second one is very important too, because in his book of science, de la Roubert, who led a French embassy of Louis XIV to the kingdom about 300 to 400 years ago, under the rule of King Narai, the Great wrote about the common use of massage among its people. They like to squeeze or pinch all over the body. Whenever someone is sick in science, the muscle will step or tread on the patient body. Even woman also likes to have a child tread on her back so that she will have an easy childbirth. These two most important treatises on Nuot Thai and its clinical concept. The first one is, I think many people know this. These 60 stone inscriptions of Nuot Thai in Wat Po, commissioned by King Rama III in 1832, is the most comprehensive set of knowledge of Nuot Thai and considered the official or national text on the art. And the second one is very important too. It's a royal textbook of medicine commissioned by King Rama V in 1870. And from these two treatises, you can say that the basis of the theory of Nuot Thai are, first, its central concept is the human body contains as many as 72,000 lines. In Thai we call sen, 10 of which are male, and Thai call sen patan sit. They are the channel through which lom flow or the wind flows, affecting the body's energy, movement, and function. The second is that the obstruction and accumulation of wind in each of sen patan sit would cause various illness and symptoms. The third is Nuot Thai emphasizes working on sen patan sit to get the energy back to normal. And the last one is there are many trigger points throughout the body that can be worked to relieve or treat illness and symptoms. I will talk about brief history of the advent of modern medicine and the decline of Nuot Thai. In 1888, the founding of Sirila Hospital, the first Western hospital, marked the decisive shift of science, public health care toward modern medicine, although it provides traditional medical service as well. And 1 year later, a medical school was established to train doctors in both modern and Thai traditional medicine. In 1918, the teaching of Thai traditional medicine was discontinued, and in 1923, the Healing Arts Practice Act, the first act, was promulgated to regulate medical practice, further accelerating the decline of Thai traditional medicine. The restoration period of Nuot Thai. In 1978, the World Health Organization issued the Alma Ata Declaration on Primary Health Care, calling on member states to use indigenous medicine as well as herbal medicine as part of their primary health care programs. And 1 year later, the policy on primary health care was officially issued by Thai government. The adoption of Health for All, which is the basis for the WHO primary healthcare strategy to promote health, gave the impetus for the revival of Thai traditional medicine and Nuot Thai, providing a policy umbrella which campaign and action would be initiated and undertaken to effect change. These are the activities. The first one and very important is the revival was kickstarted with the launching of Nuot Thai Revival Project, endorsed by more than 500 practitioners, Buddhist monks, Ancient Medicine Association, and representatives of civil society organizations participated in a seminar on the issue on November 1985. And the partnership was formalized into Federation of Traditional Thai Medicine in 1993 with 20 co-founding organizations. The Federation has played a central role in coordinating actions for knowledge management, compiling textbooks, organizing training courses on Nuot Thai for self-care, developing Nuot Thai professional training course, and seeking amendment and improvements to relevant laws and regulation. These are the three regulation or legislation. These three pieces of legislation have not only granted Nuot Thai practitioners full legal status, but also made it legally binding for the government to offer Nuot Thai as part of public health service after rejecting its role for over a century. Now or today, you can see Nuot Thai are very popular or favored by the people, by Thai peoples. In every village, you can see Nuot Thai and every part of Thailand. In the north of Thailand, northeast, in the center, and in the south of Thailand. The last one, Nuot Thai in Thai culture, way of life, and traditional wisdom. As an integral part of Thai way of life, Nuot Thai is firmly anchored in Buddhism as reflected in its core value that healing patients bring about great merit by relieving their fellow human beings' physical sufferings. Nuot Thai practitioners allow them to pursue Dhamma practice, which would lead down the path towards the end of all suffering. Thank you very much.
네, 프라포즈 파트라크
Thank you very much, Dr. Prapoj Prachakar.
앞에 그 특별 세션에서
We had a special lecture by Professor Judith Parker, and I think that his presentation was in connection with her presentation. He was talking about the tangible aspect. Nuot Thai seems to be very tangible since it's a massage therapy. He gave us a presentation on the Nuot Thai practice. He gave us an explanation about its history and its current status and its way forward. And so I think we got a very good understanding on how Nuot Thai exists in Thailand today. I think it was a very helpful presentation for us to understand Nuot Thai.
Now let me invite our third speaker. The title of the third presentation is The Safeguarding of the Health System Associated with the Traditional Knowledge of the Jago Shamans of Yuru Party in Colombia. And researcher Martin Andrade Perez from Erica Foundation, Colombia, will deliver the presentation. Mr. Martin Andrade Perez is a researcher at the Erica Foundation, a Colombian NGO accredited to provide services to the UNESCO Committee for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage. Recently, he represented the Erica Foundation at the evaluation body of the 2003 convention. He has been working on ICH-related projects for more than 15 years, conducting community-based projects like safeguarding plants, nomination files, and inventories. He has been an advisor of the Heritage section of the Ministry of Culture of Colombia for the development of laws and policies for the safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage. He also served as an instructor of the UNESCO MOOC, a course on living heritage and sustainable development in February this year. Please welcome Mr. Martin Andrade Perez with a big round of applause.
Good afternoon to almost everybody. Good morning to some of us. It's still the morning. I would like to thank you, and thanks especially the HCAP and the Center of National Heritage of the Republic of Korea for this invitation, and all the organizers. I am going to present an experience we had in Colombia many years ago, and it's still happening. And I will try to link it with the with the subject of this whole forum, with the practices and knowledge concerning nature, and in this case, nature and universe. It's the safeguarding of the health system associated with the traditional knowledge of the jaguar shamans of Yurupari. I also want to thank especially the Association of Captains and Traditional Indigenous Authorities of the Pirá Paraná, called AKIP, also known as AKIP, and the Gaia Amazonas Foundation, especially this Association of Captains and Traditional Indigenous Authorities of the Pirá Paraná, are the main responsible and the main actors of all what's happening behind this element, this practice, this intangible heritage practice. All the work I am going to share with you is their work, and I would like to thank them for letting me share it with you. I will begin to introduce you a little bit about Colombia, because maybe for some of you, Colombia is not very familiar. I have a little map of South America, here. You see the United States and you see South America. Colombia is in this corner, the north corner of South America. It's about 100 million square kilometers, about 50 million of inhabitants with many different ecosystems. We have the Amazon forest, the Caribbean coast, Pacific coast, the Andean region, the Eastern Plains. It's many different communities. And the Amazon is the Northwest Amazon. It's more than 40% of continental Colombia. It's almost 500,000 square kilometers and not very populated, a little more than 1 million of inhabitants, with 26 main indigenous groups. It's the jungle. It's the Amazon jungle in its main expression. So we have some indigenous groups living there. I am going to talk about the special indigenous groups and this Association of Captains, AKIP, which was formed in 1996. You see, which is in green in this map is the Amazon basin. It's some departments of Colombia. This is the department of Paupés. Colombia has 32 departments, and this is one of the departments. And what we have in yellow is the great indigenous resguardo of Paupés. The resguardo is a territory with an indigenous government. And I am talking about the indigenous groups living around the Pirá Paraná River, one of the affluents of the Amazon River. It's the Yurupari waters, the heart center of the territory of the jaguars of Yurupari. It's not so many people living there, 2,000 inhabitants, different ethnic groups, 7 ethnic groups. It's a big territory, and this territory for them is the Great Communal House, also called the Maloca. That's very important because this Great Yurupari territory for them is like a human body. So this is very important for our presentation because this human body is related to our human body. The traditional knowledge of the jaguar shamans of Yurupari is basically a system of traditional knowledge to take care of nature and to take care of life. It connects the rhythms of the universe and nature with our activities. It's basically a set of laws for these people for living in the forest. This is the Maloca. This is inside the Maloca. It's the big communal house of these indigenous groups. That's where everything happens. That's where they live, where they sleep, where they have the meetings, where they eat. That's where everything happens. It's a traditional system of governance with the specific roles. This is also important for these presentations because everybody has a role in this traditional system. It is an holistic and integral and organic system of life. And also, for our presentation, it is important to say that each ethnic group has its own sacred site. And each sacred site is the heart of or home of origin, but especially the heart of each one of these communities. and they live based on the principle of that we are all connected to these sacred sites. Our bodies are all connected to these sacred sites. For this practice, something very important and that I want also to share, and it's important to know for understanding this element, is the ecological calendar. As you see, this is one ecological calendar. It's what connects the rhythms of the nature of the universe to the human activities. This is like the calendar of 1 year for one of the ethnic groups. Each ethnic group defines its own cultural ecological calendar. They divide the year in different seasons, in 4 seasons. It's not the same seasons that for all the countries. They are based on the raining seasons, the dry seasons. It's also show the calendar of rituals, which is the main law, the main norm to live and to interact with the natural environment and to interact between each other in community. Each of these 4 seasons has special rituals to assure the health of the people. Each of these 4 seasons has a moment for healing of crops, healing of women, healing of wild fruit trees. It's not only the healing of people. It defines the places to fish or to hunt, or not to fish or not to hunt. It defines which plant is possible to harvest or not to harvest, and it defines which diseases have to be cured and have to be prevented during this season. This ecological calendar defines everything for these communities. A little timeline of what is happening here. Since 1991, the Colombian Constitution recognized the country as a pluriethnic and multicultural nation. AKIP was created in 1996, and between 1995 and 2001, they defined the life plan. Also, they had the environmental management plan, where they created or they defined and they draw this cultural ecological calendar for each group. In 2009, we have the inscription on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of Colombia with the safeguarding plan. And in 2011, the practice was inscribed on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. We also had the educational plan in 2013. In 2018, the Colombian Amazon basin was recognized as a subject of rights, which is also important because it's to recognize, to acknowledge that the Amazon has the same rights as a person. So it was also going in the way of what they are believing. The life plan is important because the life plan has 4 main objectives: environment, on governance, education, and health. And for these communities, everything is connected. They cannot think about the health or about governance or about education in different ways. Everything is integral. It's a holistic cosmovision. And in these many roles that they have, every ethnic group has a Jehua, which are the world healers, and the Kubua, which are the seasons healers. The Kubua always have different specialities. They are the ones who maintain the ecological balance of nature. They are the healers of the communities, basically. So this is a prevention system based on precise seasonal rituals, based on diets, based on respect for the sacred sites. If there is some irrespect for these sites, all the communities can be sick and can have some diseases. So they have to protect these sacred sites. They have to protect the diets, to follow these diets. That's the main point of this practice. And it is very selective on which support to ask for the Western medicine. It's also important because what I am going to show now is that since the 90s, the government of Colombia, the national government, came to this region to improve access to medical, dental, and vaccination services. And it was some kind of a clash between two different points of views of the world. The national government had the Western perspective, more assistentialist, more attention to the disease, to supply medicines, which is not the case. They didn't think about this preventive system, which was done according to the times of the calendar, which was done according to the dangers, according to the diets, to sexual and nutritional restrictions. So the national government had another point of view that was in shock with this traditional point of view. And they built many offices, many head offices with lots of problems. This is a Maloca. This is like the big construction of the Maloca where everybody lives. And I showed you a Maloca inside before, this is outside. And they arrived here where they live in these Malocas, which are done to protect them, and they are adapted to the environment and to the weather. The new constructions were like the same construction we had in the mountains with the cold weather, but they were done here. And the doctors and health professionals that arrive there are not from the Amazon region. They don't speak the languages, they don't know the region diseases, and they didn't know the traditional health system. So they were bringing also medicines that were not the medicines they needed, and they didn't bring medicines they needed. So it was some shock between these two groups. But since 2003, with all this process of the jaguar shamans of Yurupari, they begin a process to try to integrate the traditional health system into the Colombian, the national health system. The first step was an identification of the healers, which are the roles of each of the healer, which are the most important or the most prevalent diseases in each season, which were the most relevant traditional treatments. So during 10 years, they were doing an identification of all of these. So with a big evaluation of the work of the healers, an evaluation about the rituals of the diseases and of the patients. And it wasn't an endogenous research. It was something done by them, by these people who learned to research in their own way. All these actions look for a correct articulation between the traditional health system and the Western system, because these ethnic groups know that they need some vaccination system, they need odontology, bacteriology specialties that they don't have, and they want to improve that. But they are trying to reach an indigenous base national, the Western doctors and the traditional healers. So now, for the last 10 years, we have been having disagreements between AKP and the health secretaries with their Western point of view. And we are trying to work towards an intercultural system of health, which is like the big goal of the last 8 years, to try to put everything together and to define the best way of healing people, to apply this preventive system, this holistic system, and to take from the Western medicine, which is really necessary. So this is a different approach to the other speakers' presentations. The idea here is not to expand the traditional system or the medicine behind here, is to safeguard. This is communities that defined that they wanted to be on the representative list of intangible heritage of humanity, not to have more tourism or not to have more people coming here and having their medicines and knowing about them. What they want to do is to safeguard their traditional cosmovision, their traditional way of living. And medicine is an important part of it, even if for them it all makes part of one main integrated and organic system. Thank you very much.
예, 발표 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parents. You just mentioned the Colombian case, and you just mentioned that there are some people who may not know about Colombia, but recent presidential election in Colombia was a big news here in Korea too. And these days, many anthropologists actually conduct their research activities in Latin America, and some of their research were translated into Korean. So Colombia is such a well-known country here in Korea. And also just introduced your shamanic the rituals or the practices in terms of traditional knowledge, and thank you for that. And also, you just mentioned the issues that indigenous group people are faced in Colombia. Thank you very much for your information and informative presentation as well. And I would like to invite our last presenter.
The last presenter will present on traditional medicine in the Syrian crisis. Our last presenter is from Rasha Barhum, researcher of Syria Trust for Development. Rasha holds a bachelor's degree in archaeology and a master's degree in cultural heritage resources management. Since 2017, she has worked in the Living Heritage Program at the Syria Trust for Development, a Syrian NGO accredited by UNESCO. And she has been very active in many safeguarding projects of ICH and World Heritage. Drawing on her field research on the life of Syrian rural communities during the war, she has extensively documented and inventoried Syria's intangible cultural heritage. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite her for her presentation. Please welcome with a big round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good morning when your time in your countries. It's my pleasure to me and my organization, the Syria Trust for Development, to share you our experience in traditional medicine in Syria, especially in crisis. So I will talking in this presentation about traditional medicine in crisis, in the Syrian crisis. Since ancient times, Syrian traditional medicine has been used to treat various diseases. It's cost-effective with fewer side effects. Some research centers in Syria have conducted clinical tests on the effectiveness of same traditional medicine drugs, and results varies between effect and ineffective. During the Syrian crisis, some hospital and health centers stopped working due to the lack of staff or supplies, especially in remote areas. Others were damaged or captured by fighters. The return to use recipes of traditional Syrian medicine, which is part of the intangible cultural heritage, played a major role in preserving the life of people in those areas and the sustainability of their lifestyles. When we talk about traditional medicine in Syria and history, as we know, the old traditional medicine started when the civilization started, and the traditional medicine it's a best choice for providing primary health care in developing countries. So. Even the WHO paid special attention for traditional medicine, and it have a strategy for traditional medicine. Recently, there's a big return to traditional medicine used by the Syrian population, especially in rural communities, to treat the most prevalent diseases during the crisis and economic side that have caused society in obtaining medicine. The traditional medicine in Syria have many names, like Arabic names, alternative, traditional, Unani medicine, and it depends on planet and animal treatments. Planet and animal treatments, such as respiratory diseases, point and joint pain and capping. Another type where it's a spiritual treatment based on a holy scripture such Quran, Bible, and Prophet Sunnah. When we're talking about environment and style of living in Syria, Syria has agriculture and grazing land in the west, north central region, and have deserts and mountains that give us a diversity of environments. The rural population mainly engaged in agriculture in Syria and raising poultry and livestock such as cow and sheep. Rural population constituted to less than half the total of population in Syria, and was a distinguish between countryside and from the urban. I think one of our participants talk about that the countryside or the rural communities depends on their life on the seasons, in eating, drinking, and food, and the social costs. For example, the majority of rural people collect medicine herb from neighborhood and areas and dry them to use in treatment some diseases, but the urban can't make these things. I will especially talking in this presentation about small communities in Syria, which names Hadidiyin tribe. They are one of the Syrian communities. The main of Hadidiyins, those from the iron, and the name came from their founder, Sheikh Muhammad Troubi. He used it to working in the iron industry. Actually, the originally of this tribe back to Iraq, Sanjar Mountain and Nainawa and Mosul countryside. And nowadays, they live in Syria, Iraq, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. The age of this tribe, more than 500 years, and now they are living in Aleppo and Idlib and Hama governorates in center of Syria. In the past, they were nomads, but last century they turned to still cement houses, working agriculture beside raising livestock. During the Syrian crisis, they were currently affected by the presence in remote area, which made them a target for the activities armed group. Many of them fled to a safe area, while others remained under the control of terrorist formation. This led shortage to supply such as medicine, fuel, and food. They rebuilt mud houses. They rebuilt to traditional recipes for folk medicine to treat health issues such as fracture, burns, and wounds. In Hadidian tribe, the person who performs traditional medicine called it khatib. Last month, I visited the Hadidian tribe in Idlib, and the khatib of them told me some of the experience about traditional medicine, which way made it when they were under the crisis. And when we looking at the traditional medicine of Hadidian tribe, we can notice that they related what the available in their natural environment. This help them to preserve in their lives in the crisis, and there were roads, blockade, an ability to search the medicine, and doctors and nurses weren't able to reach this remote area. He gave me many of experience, many of example about some issues they were in war, and I will talk it of them. One of them, factor casting. In the factor casting, the process healing factor depends on the age of the injured. The younger the age, the faster to recover the recovery. Each year corresponds one of healing day. For example, 10 years old child healing period between 7 to 10 days. As for casting mechanism, based on the use of flour, laurel soap or gar soap, and low-organic egg. Al-Khatib makes the mentioned materials and extend them on thin canvas pieces. Then put broken part in hot water and wash with gar soap and pull slowly until the points fit in its place. Then board the clothes on the fixture. And the second one is dye. One or more commonly named in the word is midwife. She inherits her professional from her mother and grandmother. She considered a helper or lifesaver in difficult time. And it's easy to know all the daya is women, though the cultural sustainable associations with these practices. The crisis conditions, the mortality rate of pregnant women and newborn increased during the war when modern women couldn't access hospital. They passed to the day in their countries. Unlike the days, didn't have formal medical training. She usually now or train how to care of pregnant women and newborn from her mother and grandmother where there were days. When I were in Hadidian tribe, I met one of the days, which named Radia Muhayyer, told me about her experience. She said births took place naturally at home under the fighting, where the birth stalls were sterilized by boiling them with water and salt because alcohol wasn't often available. A birth facilitated the umbilical cord of newborn is cut and salted. And Arabic kohol placed along baby's eyes and eyebrow, which protect the baby's eyes from infection and from the evil eyes. She continues, we don't usually buy clothes for the baby, but have some that pass it down from others. Sometimes mothers died during the childbirth because their babies has perished and they lost a lot of blood. The third one, capping. Capping, as we know, it's traditional in all the world and has been practiced in Syria since ancient time. and preferably use hand blowing glass cup tools. The pressures is removed by burning cotton ball of base of wool inside the cup. Hadidian tribe capping is practices by both men and women. So we can see men or women practices this capping. When people visit the Khatib at the specific time in the year between the months March to June, in the early morning, because the weather is cold and warm, cool and warm, and the human body able to replace lost blood. According to the Khatib, cupping is get rid of muscles pain and activity blood circulation. He warned people to eat or drink milk and dairy production during capping period because it contains calcium and which might impact blood pressure. This information actually taken from Islamic Sunnah. During the war, Hadidiyin continuous practice capping for the purpose strengthening their bodies before big harvest. The third one is, I think it's hard one, statistic. The deterioration of health conditions, destruction, and reduced hygiene during the crisis led to re-emergency of many diseases such as leishmaniasis. So Hadidiyin tribe used figs to treat it. When picked, the fig produced a milky liquid that placed on the site of infection twice a day. The treatment required until the patient began to recover gradually. Previous patients say that the fig didn't help. The fig it helped them recover. Also, it didn't help reducing skirming left over. Since the figs are seasonal, the Khatib kept a bottle of the fig milk stored away to allow him to treat his patient in winter months. The fifth one, kidney stones. About kidney stones, Syria is the large producer of kefir plants, and while many of Mediterranean they use kefir in their dishes, Syria food doesn't. Instead, kefir used for their medical preparations. Hadidiyin use bitter tasting kefir root and wormwood to treat kidney stones. They boiled it and drink twice a day in morning and evening. The drink cannot be said to taste good, but the Khatib encourages people to try this accessible and safe treatment at home. The sixth one, toothache. Toothache is the most relevant element and the one of the required immediate treatments. Toothache are treated in a number of ways, including pulling a bunch of live leaves and once called along the patient to garlic with it. And also be numbed by chewing on in single gloves. The last one, burns. Burns become common due to return to the old ways of cooking and healing. Hadidin have many treatments according to the degree of the burns. The first one, lamp fat used in this case, where it's cut and rendered down within a bowl after it has cooled and starts to resemble with a paste. A thick layer can be placed on the area of the burn, and some cases natural honey is mixed into the paste for many times. The second one of test of treat burns. It's a hard one. Cook the legs of the chicken and burn until they become ashes and naked with honey and olive oil. And the burn is battened and then cover it with a pieces of cloth. The duration of treatment for last week then would the wound held then the wound held and reply lives and scare on the body. In conclusion, this presentation tried to provide how we are able to use their traditional knowledge and skills to cope during time of crisis and disasters. While intangible cultural heritage provide communities while a sense of continually and belonging. It's respiration of social and cultural value. It's a vital step that during time of globalization that traditional medicine of communities is documented and researched in order to safeguarding it for future and generation. Thank you for your attention.
예, 라샤 바룸 선생님 발표 감사합니다. 예,
Thank you very much for your presentation. We have heard how the Syrian traditional medicine persists amid many difficulties and crises in Syria. Now we have heard the presentations of all four speakers, and now we will invite all the speakers and we will entertain the questions of our participants and engage in discussion. I think we had a very diverse mix of presentations, and the discussions were quite fruitful. And in terms of geography as well, we were joined by speakers from South America, the Middle East, and also Asia. And so I think we have a good representation of how traditional medicine exists in the world today. And I'm sure our viewers and participants found it very helpful, and they would have gained a lot of knowledge. And I imagine that they would have questions as well. So we are receiving questions on our YouTube channel. During the presentation, our viewers have posted questions via YouTube. Due to time constraints, we will not be able to entertain all the questions that have been put forth. So I will ask one question to one presenter. So first, among the questions, we have a question for the first presenter.
So the first question is directed to President Zita Pangilinan. So Guma Yo Amti is not only a traditional healer, but also is a shaman. So I'm just wondering what kind of qualities do they have for us to call them shamans? Ms. Zita Pangilinan, could you please answer the question?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Is there the question?
예, 간단히 말씀드리면요.
So let me rephrase the question once again. So when
Thank
we
you.
take a look at your presentation, it seems that Kumayo auntie or the traditional healer not only heal people, but also play the role of shamans. But you didn't use the term shaman. So I'm just wondering whether there is any other people who can be called shamans in Guam.
I think, like I said, so that the zoamti is a Chamorro word. And when I observe, I believe that they are also able to be, or this is just my observation, but I think they also serve as that because it's very holistic. And I sense that that's some of the healers have that ability.
예. 답변
Thank you very much for your answer.
Next, we have a question for Dr. Prapoj Petrakard.
Yes.
In 2019, Thai massage was inscripted as an ICH of UNESCO. Has awareness around Nuat Thai increased? Do you see a new momentum gaining ground to promote awareness regarding Nuat Thai? For instance, do you see more training courses, or do you see any universities introducing Nuat Thai as part of their teachings?
Yes.
Dr. Petrakard?
Yes. Thank you. I think you can see the trend of education in university. Now there's two levels of Nuat Thai training. Below the degree, and for the degree a training course. So there are at least, I think, about 28 universities that open a training course for the degree and bachelor science on Nuat Thai. And there are about 85 schools that under degree training course for the Nuat Thai. So I think it's very popular now, and people want to learn Nuat Thai to have their self-care and use in the community.
예, 답변 감사합니다. 예, 놀라울 정도로 많은
I think that was quite an impressive figure, and you were talking about how universities are introducing courses to train people on Nuat Thai. Thank you.
The third question is directly to Mr. Martin and Ray Paris. You just mentioned the ecological calendar in your presentation. So the ecological calendar has been passed down from the past to the present, and it should be handed down to our future generation as well. And that should be an important part of our ICH. So I'm just wondering whether there are any cases where the changes are made to those ecological calendars over time. That's how I perceive it. So could you please share such cases where the changes are made to the ecological calendar over time? So we are going through the climate change as well as the ecological environment changes in many places around the world. And I believe the same goes for the Amazon region. So what kind of impact does climate change have on the preservation and safeguarding of ecological calendar related practice?
Yes.
Mr. Paris, could you please answer
Yes, of course.
that question?
Yes, so far there has not been, normally this is a calendar of rituals, but since 2001, they drew the calendar. So before that, the calendar was not real. They didn't have an image. It was in their oral tradition. So the calendar of rituals, the ecological calendar is an oral tradition. But now, with the introduction of some Western researchers and with some help to also to explain to the world what they have, they review the calendar. So the calendars change a little bit every year for all of them. And it's the healers or the jaguars who define how to change this calendar. So every year the calendar is changing. So yes, climate change can change the ecological calendar. If the raining season is longer, it can change, but normally the changes are minimal. It also depends on the healers, on the shamans, on what they define. If the rainy season lasts more than ever, and like 6 months, 8 months, it can change. But so far, we don't have like big changes in the calendar. Also, the idea of inscribe this on the list of intangible heritage of humanity is to be able to preserve the territory, to protect it, so they don't have to change the ecological calendar. Because if the sacred sites are affected, if some part of the territory is affected, all the ecological calendar of the balance will change. So it's not only climate change, but any minimal aggression and minimal big change to the territory can change the ecological calendar.
예, 감사합니다. 예, 지금 기후 변화와 기후 위기 시대에 변하지 않는 곳이 없는 전환의
Thank you
시대.
very much. We are living in the era of climate change, and actually the climate change has a huge impact on the countries around the world. And I believe that actually the same change goes on in Colombia and its ecological calendar practice as well. Thank you very much.
The fourth question is for our last presenter. The conflict in Syria is ongoing, and it seems that traditional medicine is contributing to those living in rural areas. How is it helping them? And has it brought about change in the rural areas of Syria? And is it really effective in really filling that void that has been left by a modern Western medicine in Syria? So, Rasha Barum, if you can respond to the question.
Yes, I understanding you. Actually, the last 5 years, the crisis decreased in Syria, and many of areas became safety. And when this area, rural area became safety, we visited the rural communities and selected and documentation all of traditional not even medicine, traditional social traditional about food, healing, building mud houses, and the universities became made researches about effective of traditional medicine, and we provide the result, a good result, effective result about traditional medicine to rural community to continuous tried or continuous use it. But we encourage people to don't take not ineffective medicines. And the governorate of Syria work to rebuild the medical industry, and they took the medical to the rural communities, open pharmacies, and work in cooperation with ICRC to go to renewal visited to the rural communities, and to know how their health is, take care of them, and help them when they need, and be on communication with them all times.
답변 감사합니다. 시리아의
Thank you very much for your response. During the long-lasting conflict of Syria, we can see that traditional medicine is contributing to the well-being of Syrians. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all our presenters for responding to the questions.
예, 저희가 이제 계속해서 3년째
So
횟수로는 4년째가 되겠죠.
I think for the fourth year now, we are amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, and now we're also faced with climate change or even a climate crisis. And this is being felt by humanity. And against this backdrop, I think traditional medicine is very valuable, and we are gaining new insight into the value of traditional medicine. And as all of us have heard, harmony, connection, not only among people, but with entities that are not human, we need harmony and connection and interest. And the best way to do this is, of course, through traditional approaches. And I believe that this plethora of perspectives is needed for us to overcome the era of climate change. We've been joined by speakers from Guam, Colombia, Syria, and Thailand. And I thought we had a very invaluable discussion today during this session. I would like to thank our presenters once again, Zita Pangilinan and Dr. Praposh Petrakard, and also Mr. Martin Andre de Perez and Rasha Barum. I would like to thank you once again for your presentations. And with that, I would like to conclude session 3 of the 2022 World Forum on ICH. I would also like to thank our viewers who joined us via YouTube. Thank you very much. I would like to thank our moderator, Professor Kim Tae-woo of Kyunghee University. I would also like to extend my gratitude to all the presenters who joined us today. And with that, we would like to conclude the 2022 World Forum on Intangible Cultural Heritage. This has been a 3-day forum. I would like to thank all our participants who have joined us throughout. Traditional knowledge has been maintained for centuries, and at the same time, it adapts to the changing environment and helps us respond to the fast-changing environment. So ICH is very valuable, and I think we were able to reconsider its value. It is a living heritage, and it contributes to sustainability, and I hope that we can all wait for a brighter future through ICH. And I hope that we have more opportunities to contemplate and think of ways forward with ICH. And with that, I would like to conclude the forum. We hope to see everyone next year as well. Thank you very much.
Okay.